This episode is proudly supported by Monash University, promoting the Master of Indigenous Business Leadership program. For more information, head to the link in our show notes or visit www.monash.edu/Indigenous-business-leadership.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast with Mandanara Bales.
Welcome back to another amazing episode. This is the partnership series with Monash University. We are here to talk about the Masters of Indigenous Business Leadership program, which is a course that I personally have enrolled in. And today we're talking to another student who I can now say is a graduate from the Moible program. But before we do, I just want to acknowledge that we are here in Sydney on the beautiful lands of the Gadigal peoples. And all of my memories of just growing up here come flooding in. So I love being here. It's an amazing place to come visit. If you've never been to Sydney, here in Australia, for listeners that are tuning in or even watching this YouTube channel from around the world, Gadigal country is in the heart of Sydney. So today we're going to talk to a guest that's already been on the podcast. So when I kicked off the podcast nearly 3 years ago, basically this is what you do, right? You ring your friends and you kind of go, hey, do you want to jump on the podcast? Or, hey, do you want to buy this from me? Like you do, you try and get people around you to support you. And I must say, if I can, that Will has been one of my biggest supporters, especially in business during a global pandemic when I kind of had to reset, restart and refocus. Will was there to kind of, listen to me, guide me, give me some advice. So I'm here with not just a student or a graduate of the Moible program, but one of my closest confidants, Will Trewlynn. I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself. And, in terms of the same thing, who your mob is and where you grew up. But I'd love for you to kind of, because a lot's happened in your life in the last 3 years. So your intro is going to be a little bit different to the one. If you want to go back 3 years, you'll find Will's episode.
Yeah, it's changed massively 3 years, right?
Yes.
What the world can throw you in 3 years, a pandemic, children and an engagement. But
that's what I mean.
Right? So I'm William Trewlynn. On my grandfather's side, he's a Munro and a Lawrence from Tinga in Burrells. He's an Akoromal and Anawan man. My nan's a Mackenzie and a Smith, so her people are from Walbrook, but we all grew up off country down in Western Sydney. So like Mara, I've got a real sense of connection to mob here in Sydney and out in Western Sydney, because we've been living out there since 1965, and where myself and my 20 plus cousins and my family was raised by my grandpa, my nan and my pop.
You missed a zero. 200 plus?
200 plus?
You said 20 plus.
20 plus what?
Cousins?
Oh, 200. No, so I've got this cousins, right? So you talk about kinship cousins and community cousins, the biggest mob. So as I'm sure you can imagine, the biggest population.
I never heard a black fella say 20 plus ever.
20 plus, 100 plus.
Yes.
But we come from a big family, and we're being blessed to grow up with, out in Western Sydney with a real strong Aboriginal community. And I now live here in Sydney on Gadigal country with my partner. So I am a queer black man and I have a beautiful Brazilian partner, and we recently got engaged.
Oh,
it can happen.
Taken.
It can happen.
He was single back then.
I was. Lots happened since then. 65 kilos and engagement, 2 kids and a successful business.
So let's go back.
Yes.
You dropped 65 kilos. Did. Oh my goodness. So do you want to share with people how you managed to look at this amazing?
Thank you. Botox and filler. We won't cut that out, Clint. But so I've lost 65 kilos at my lightest, and it was through weight loss surgery. I got quite sick through COVID. I have Hashimoto's, and I gained 50 kilos after losing 55. And it was just kind of a bit of a health scare. And I took your advice on it actually, and just kind of bit the bullet and did it, and changed my life dramatically. So like you're saying, huge change and growth over the last 3 years, personally and professionally. And it's kind of a bit of a full circle that we're now sitting here having this yarn. But I forgot to say, I'm a kinship uncle.
Yes.
I've got 2 nieces now. I raise a 12 and 13 and a 7-year-old, and I always make a joke about the hardest thing about raising girls is doing hair, and I still stick by that.
Yeah, my dad was amazing at it.
Oh,
He had 8 daughters, right?
Well,
yeah.
By the time, hopefully next year or so, I'm going to master the art of the braid. That's what I'm trying to get onto now.
So hair, I'm
Hair,
sure
it's
Peace
a pain
will
in my
agree.
existence.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I'm blessed to be able to say I have a really beautiful family and support to raise these kids, and it's been a life-changing experience. I never want to be a parent, but yet here we are, right?
Here we are. Who would have thought? And I always say be careful what you wish for, but that was not on your wish list.
Well, I kind of always thought I would make a good dad, but you kind of get kids and you think, holy gunna, you don't want to kind of do that, right? So you kind of
You change your
change your
plans.
plans and stuff. But like it's been a massive growth. It's kind of brought up a lot of self growth that you have to do, and I think that's kind of helped inform, how I study, how I work, how I run my life, and I think it's built me into a better person. So it's been a positive thing.
I love you taking the positive.
Always.
Not out of the negative, but out of a situation that you probably saw coming.
Yeah.
So we know each other quite
Yeah.
well. But you know what? I love it with our mob, within our culture. Like, you just step up to the plate.
Yeah.
You just do it. You don't even think twice. Like the next day, hold a minute, where are we going to live? You're in a...
I was in a 2-bedroom apartment in Coogee with my best friend, and I had
then-
2 kids, and I was like, what am I going to do?
You're ringing me going, I've got to find somewhere to live. I needed this. And I was like, oh, my God, this poor fella.
You just got to go in action. You make it work. So in 3 years, we've had 4 homes to kind of find and settle. We're finally settled now. And it's like you have to kind of just reevaluate, and that's what you do. And it's the same thing as business and life. You just kind of keep rolling with the punches and make it work, right? And I think as blackfellas, it's kind of we're built that way.
We're built that way. And I was going to say, for a lot of, non-Aboriginal people that haven't been faced with a lot of, I don't know, could you call it adversity? Challenges.
Life.
The struggle is real, but we just take it in our stride. But not everyone is cut out for being a parent and trying to, you've been building your business.
Yes.
And big shout out to your deadly business partner, Ray.
Yeah.
You've been building this business with a business partner, which, not all of us have I shouldn't say me, but I know that there's other mobbing businesses that are just kind of doing it on their own. And that hustle's different. Like, I've had the elders with me.
Yeah.
And then adding another layer to it all, studying. Like, not that you've got,
No, it's interesting.
time.
Yeah. So like I think we enrolled to the program at the same time, and I'd rang you and said, sis, had you heard about this program? And we kind of realised we were both applying for it. I thought, how exciting. And that was in the November prior to me getting the girls. So I enrolled into university. Starting out, I had a business, and it was kind of, it was moderately successful. We were making ends meet. It was never hugely kind of a massive business to what it is now. So I knew I had the ability to take on a full-time study load. And then I got the girls in February, and I kind of freaked out. I think I even called you and Katrina at the time and said, what do I do? And I had to make the call. I said, I have to do this for myself. And it was through your counsel and Katrina's counsel. I thought, I've just got to do it, which is what we did. And
Well, you talked me into doing it because I only half filled out the application.
that's true, yeah.
And you were like, girl, I've done it.
You've got to do
and
it.
I said, well, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I can find the time. My business is like freaking taken off.
Yeah.
And I literally was thinking, have I bitten off more than I could chew? And I did. I made a decision not to go ahead with it. Then you ring me, and I'm thinking, if you can do it with all of the situation and shit that was happening in your life, I can do it.
Yeah.
So you inspired me.
Thank you. And like, so I made that call because I'm like, if we have to support each other in that space. And when I kind of did the interview with the team at Monash and William Cooper's Institute,
What was that like?
The interview?
Yeah, what was it like? Because you're going through a lot. Do you remember the interview? Because for me, I'd never been to university, and this was really big for me.
Yeah. It was interesting because I've done uni. I never graduated. I'd kind of enrolled and thought, big note, I'll go do it, thinking I had all the skills to do it. Failed miserably. And it was kind of a lesson learnt. And that's why I kind of balked at going back to uni because I didn't think I was capable. And it wasn't until I did the interview with, I think it was Katrina, Jacinta and Nick, I think were on the call with me. And after the conversation, I just had this sense of like, I can do this. And it was, I think the yarn I had with them made me feel like this actual program was designed for us to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I made the leap, and I just said, bugger it, I've got to do it, right?
I love the fact that that's exactly how you felt, because that's how I felt. That this program was designed for me, someone that's trying to juggle everything.
Yeah.
But I knew that I just did not have can I say business acumen? Because I'd never studied before.
Girl, she runs a successful business. Acumen? I think not. She has it.
Well, you know, when you're in boardrooms and you're talking to people,
Yeah.
and you kind of feel like, I didn't go to uni, I don't have a degree, I worked my way up, and, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't know, it's like sometimes not having that piece of paper, not having a formal qualification, sometimes I don't feel like I'm qualified.
Yeah.
But I am, and I know that I am. But you know what, it was going to Monash and doing this program and being around other deadly black fellas like you in this space where you start to go, oh my God, I am pretty deadly.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, look, it was like you reflect back at it and you think how it's kind of this self-saboteur kind of mentality, right? We never think we're good enough. And then when we insert ourselves and apply ourselves to it, we actually realize we're more capable than we realize. And we've reflected on the courses when we sat through them. We think, holy crap, we're so good at what we do, and we don't even realize how good we are. And it speaks to this ability to be able to reflect back culturally and say, well, blackfellas have been the first inventors, the first traders. You think about the idea of some of the stuff that Auntie Lily and Auntie Mary talk about, and you think, well, of course we have it in us, but we have this kind of saboteur or imposter syndrome, which I think is what played out for me. It sounds like it played out for you, and it's like I had to address it. So now that I've done it, there's no more imposter syndrome. Like, yes, I have a master's of business. The reality is, whilst I learnt a lot, it was more about affirming stuff I already knew and gave me kind of Western theories behind it, which didn't really change my business acumen, except now I have a master's degree in business or a master's of Indigenous business leadership that makes me look all fancy in white spaces. But it hasn't really changed my business acumen because I haven't changed the way I operate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's more just giving me the confidence to be able to say now when I walk into it and I'm tendering and I'm competing with the KPMGs of the world, I have the same level of education.
Yes.
Because of that paper.
So the confidence boost, you're already quite confident in your business and how you've, you know, been able to do what you do, who you work with. You've got all of that, right? So you've got kind of runs on the board. But you're right. Walking into those spaces, I've got my Monash hoodie, and you should see, you know, I love wearing it. It's got the Monash logo, very prestigious business school, and then the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander flag, and then here the William Cooper Institute on the sleeve. So for all you mob, whether you're running your own show, whether you're working in government or in corporate, and you want to go the next level, and you can already have a degree already or have done an MBA program, this is just for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. That's the criteria. It is a culturally safe and supportive space for us as mob to come together. So there's like 8 blocks over 2 years. Most of it's face-to-face, but the flexibility around COVID, which was good because you were able to graduate on time.
I was.
Can you share with me, because I'm so jealous, about Canada?
Yeah.
The study trip, the study tour, Canada peoples.
Yeah, look, it was a really, it sounds a bit silly, but it was a life-changing experience because what it actually brought to the surface was actually how lucky we are as people. And what I mean by that is the disparity between the haves and the have-not in Canada is so different to here. And not to minimize our experiences and what happens in this country, but it was a reflection to say we have to find the strength in what we have and find the beauty in it and operate in that space and change how I was operating, particularly in my day-to-day life. And I had to change the fact that, yes, life's hard, and yes, getting kids and not expecting it, I can't sit in my own pity with that. And it changed my relationship with my family and myself and my partner and my kids because of that exchange. And it was a really profound moment. And it wasn't until I got back from Canada that I realized that. And it wasn't something that we expected to happen on the trip, but that's what we got from it. And I think that was the beauty of the program. I wasn't expecting to get the connections I made through the program. I wasn't expecting to kind of have this growth mindset coming out of it. I was going in there thinking I'm going to get a degree that's going to help me in white spaces, but I got so much more out of it than I realized. But yeah, Canada was a really life-changing experience, and having to get to meet, you know, First Nations mob from over there and go and connect with community and how they do business over there. There's so much opportunity for growth and understanding and sharing and connecting, which I wouldn't have got if I didn't do the course, right? So if one thing you get out of the course is go to a study tour overseas and international exchange, like, you're winning, in my opinion.
Yes.
So it was a really profound kind of experience, and fingers crossed you get to go and do it at some stage.
Well, I am. I've been talking to Katrina.
Yeah, good.
2 more subjects left, and this girl is going to graduate. I have thought about this in terms of the connections that we've made with other mob that we probably didn't know of before. Was there anyone in particular, other than me, of course, that you met and connected with and have stayed in contact with?
Yeah.
Can you share with us who?
Yeah, well, I think all the students, like you think about Kenny and Carl and even
Kenny
Wayne.
Bedford. Let people know Kenny Bedford.
Carl, what's Carl's last name?
Carl.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Carla Galanti and Courtney.
Kyra,
sorry, not Kyra.
Sister Kyra Galanti. Yes. From WA.
Courtney, I think that I've created a connection with all of them in some way, shape, or form, and even now we still stay connected on LinkedIn and stuff like that. It's more about when you go into that space and you see the Black excellence in their own form and how they define it and what success means to them. Because I come in with success being a certain definition, which is based on kind of surface, kind of superficial nonsense. It's when you go and see what Carl's doing and Kenny, and even with Courtney walking in such a male-dominated space.
Courtney Fuquandi, also known as Courtney Hagan,
yes,
is the co-host of Coming Out Black.
Yeah.
So listen to that deadly titter and Matika Little.
Yep.
And Matika's in this current cohort.
Yeah.
But Courtney's at FIFA, not FIFA. No, Football Australia.
Women's soccer. I don't know the name of it.
She's like the head of Indigenous programs or something for Football Australia.
Correct.
And recently engaged Black Card. So I got to deliver training to the board and to Courtney and the Indigenous Advisory Group, which Kenny Bedford
is on.
Yeah. So we're having this reunion in Naarm recently, and it was just those connections.
Yeah.
I never knew who they were before.
No. And I think there'll be lifelong connections, and that's something I wasn't expecting to get out of the program. So yes, I've walked away with a master's, but I actually walked away with a lot more with that. Yeah. Seeing other like-minded Black fellas in their own success and what success means to them, and that for me was really powerful. And I wouldn't have got it if you into the program, right?
Yeah.
So it's been an amazing kind of connection that I wasn't anticipating, but it's probably the biggest thing I got out of it.
So no regrets with
none. Other than the fact that it's stressful, but I think the teaching staff was so supportive, and they understood community obligation and
family obligation
and those things. Whilst at times they pushed back and said we need to get stuff done because they pushed us to get they wanted us to graduate.
You can't just kind of expect, and this is me as well, right? I couldn't do 3 days within one block.
Yeah,
it was the finance block.
Yeah,
I was delivering training with you. With the 4 CEOs at DHL.
Yeah.
And then a day later, I was back in Melbourne with the CEO of NAB.
Yeah.
So I said to them, look, I've got 2 big clients. They're all CEOs. I cannot give this work to another trainer. Love my deadly sister Yarika. You are literally the next best thing. We've got clients wanting Yarika over me. Now, that's when you know you've done a good job of training up other trainers. But, there's still clients where they're coming on board and you go, no, I'm going to deliver this and then we'll pass it over. Anyhow, I chose my business, and that's exactly what the staff at Monash said. Mandanara, you've got your business. Yeah. You need to make this decision. This is and I was like, why can't I just do both? I really want to graduate. And you know what? I felt heartbroken that for the first couple of days, I couldn't get on social media to see any of yous with your graduation gowns on. I was I was meant to be there.
Yeah.
But then I started to kind of, talk to myself and say, at the time, it wasn't feasible.
Yeah.
You cannot, sometimes you've got to make these decisions, and I actually put my business first.
Yeah, and I think that's the importance of the program. In most unis, you wouldn't get that level of flexibility. So the fact that we were able to kind of navigate that and be able to make decisions that are going to, for us, that's going to be suitable for us, they're really supportive of that. And, I think that's the strength of this program and why I encourage people to engage in this space, because one, it gives you the credibility, but actually it's designed for us and it has those cultural obligations. It has that culture connection, which I think supports us.
They've thought about
exactly.
A lot of the things that we deal with as black fellas. So if you've got Aboriginal people like Katrina Johnson and the beautiful Jacinta Elston. Sorry, my titter.
Yeah.
But and then even people like Nawit.
And like Nick.
Nawit Caroline Briggs.
Yes, yep.
Aren't being there and welcoming us onto her beautiful country. Like the welcoming even. Was you blown away with that?
I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it to be
university.
I know.
Like a prestigious, big institution, Monash Business School, to have this full-on cultural immersion and welcoming and feeling. It just was, I was blown away.
It set the tone for the rest of the program, I think.
Set the tone.
Yeah, and I think that's why.
It was done right.
Yeah.
And you could see that they had worked really hard on this program, and we were part of the first cohort.
Well, we're the alumni now.
We are the alumni.
We're the original.
Well, I'm nearly the alumni.
The OGs. No, but I think it's important to showcase it because I think it's one of these things, again, that doesn't happen often. So when it does happen, mob have to take it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to miss the opportunity. And don't let fear hold you back. Like, we have to be able to back ourselves.
You talking to the mob now?
Oh, no, don't let
you talking
to you. Go finish your course now. No, but seriously, don't let fear hold you back. It is really important for us to be able to embrace these opportunities and don't let your inner self-saboteur stop you type thing.
And I was just going to mention that just recently, well, it's not out there really big yet, but it is on LinkedIn, our first opportunity to truly partner with each other in business.
Yeah.
That's what I really love about us mob. Not every black fella wants to partner and collaborate and everything. That's okay because, people are competitive and all good. And stay in their own lanes. But what I love about our culture is we are a group-based people, and it's about the group and us and the community, not just us as individuals, which is important. But I've always had this mentality that, you don't leave people behind, and if you can partner with people, if you're missing a certain skill or, expertise over here, then grab that and kind of, do what you can together. And I do believe that together we are stronger.
Yeah.
So in business, to be able to collaborate with you on the DHL project, like first kind of big project we've worked on together. Yeah. So that was DHL's first ever reconciliation action plan.
Yeah, their first.
And you've been working with other organisations on RAPs. I've been seeing it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we do a lot of work in that space, and I think that's kind of, over the last 2 years, it's really grown exponentially to the point where we're now having to collaborate and share work, which I think speaks to the power of collaboration. But like, we've been working with huge companies like international global brands like DHL and, McDonald's Australia, and you think about craveable brands, so they're the Mopper and Red Rooster Chicken Treat and Porto. So you've been doing their RAPs and training. So we do a lot of cultural capability training. So a bit different to you. We utilise concepts of emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence to be able to build capacity.
And positive psychology.
And neuroplasticity.
Like, this fellow was using this language when I first went to yarn with him, and I was thinking, brother, if I could understand what you were talking about.
The interesting thing is you do those. That's the beauty about the program.
Well, when I first met you, you were speaking language I've never heard before. And in my head, I'm like, man, I wish I could speak like this.
She doesn't give herself enough credit, this one. Because I always say I want to be like her, though. So it's like this, she kind of like shared it. What's they call it when you're like crushing on people? What's that?
No, what it is.
I don't know. Anyway, point is she's good.
You compliment. Like, I feel like you've got a skill that I don't have. And I love the fact that you kind of see me the same. We're like each other's opposites, but we're equals. But I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, no, I get your point. Like, the reality is, like, I look to you and I'm like, I want to be Mananara Bales. The way she speaks, the way she holds a room, there's a level of authority you have that you don't even realise you have. And it was at your recent NAIDOC dinner that one of the people sitting at the table, they go, she's just so powerful, and I don't think she realises it. And then when you say that to me, it's like, it's that same kind of thing. We don't realise what we actually bring to the table until we start collaborating and partnering. I think that's what happened with DHL, right?
Yeah.
We saw the strength in the partnership. We achieved we worked, 12 months, 18 months with them on various kind of stages, and we've just launched their first RAP. Like, it's a massive global international logistics company for us. People from Redfern, Western Sydney come and collaborate on this. It's major.
But see, this is the impact that we can have, right, in terms of black fellas in business, and start breaking, it is breaking a cycle of poverty within our communities and families. I went on to buy a home.
Yep.
I know the houses in Sydney are very expensive.
Maybe one day.
And maybe one day, but like, I can see that happening for you now, right?
Yeah.
You've just employed your first staff member. I know you've got collaborators.
Yeah, so we've had massive growth, and 4 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be in this position, right? We're in a position now where we actually have someone operationally, internally.
Yeah, and that's when you kind of...
So we've grown massively, and we run a very different business. We're a very lean business in regards to like a training company like the Black Card. So we have the opportunity to structure the business differently. But even at that, we still need to have a fleet of people, which... I look back and think, holy crap, I'm now creating a circular ecosystem or a circular economy for mob who would not get the opportunity. Like, we've had 8 artists come through, and we've siphoned hundreds of thousands of dollars to artists who would not have got that opportunity and build their capacity to build their brand as businesses. And I never would have thought that would be something I would be able to provide. And it was through the Monash Business School they realized what I was doing in that space, like a circular economy, which now I'm like, well, how do I keep creating this idea of creating opportunities for mob, help them build their capacity or restore capacity, I like to say, so not build capacity.
Yeah.
So we can share the wealth, because to your point, there's so much opportunity, and I don't see people as competitors. I see them as collaborators. And if we can find collaboration in everything we do, I think it's key, right?
Yes.
Not just with each other, but with our partners, with our corporates, with our communities. It's where you start to see this change.
And I just got to say before we wrap up, because I know that we're running out of time, the biggest lesson that I have taken from our friendship, the biggest lesson is that money is now my mate. I'll never forget this. We were talking about money, because with business and with success, you start to, earn money and burn money. I love to shop. I love living the high life. And, I'm living a life that my mum never, my mum passed 22 years ago, but I know that she never thought that I would be able to be a successful woman without marrying a rich man.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, for black women and young black girls, there was no jobs or businesses or entrepreneurs for my mum to even look up to, being a ward of the state in a girls' home. So her dreams for her children were very limited, and I remember it. But in terms of making money and now being money smart and actually thinking it's a different relationship.
Yeah.
And it was conversations with you that made me think about money differently.
Yeah.
So you've taught me a lot.
We were sitting in a hotel. I remember across here at Darling Harbour.
Yeah.
And we were sitting down talking about it. I remember saying to you, we have to make money our mate.
Yeah.
And not use it as a transactional type of scenario. And it's still now I still have to reflect on saying money is still my mate, because we make money, we spend it, we get it kind of we get brought into this world that we never thought we were going to have, and yet here we are. So now we have to relearn to navigate it, because you never get taught about money, you never get taught about super, you never get taught about none of this stuff. So financial literacy for me was really important going into business. And I think that's something the program, as in the master's or the degree, kind of taught me, is there's so much power when you understand money and economic independence. And that's really, I think, showcases with the work that we do, being able to sit on boards, being able to establish non-for-profits at no cost, and you're sitting and you're working for a community. Everyone's like, how do you do it? I'm like, because I work 14 hours a day in a corporate setting to come and work for community. That's the power of money, right? So it's not just a transaction relation to buy the Louis Vuittons of the world, but the ability to give back to community, which why money should be our mate.
Oh, look, there's a lot. There is so much that I've learned, but that one thing, to be in a position now to start thinking of investing, buying a second home, looking at my kids, like I just never thought about tomorrow, and I never thought long term with money. So now I've got savings accounts. I pay my credit card off. I've got a few saving accounts, but it's only been 2 years. I've been in business for 10 years. It's only been the last kind of 2-3 years where I've really changed my mindset. And I think for any of our mob, doing the master's program is one thing, but there's also a podcast called Rich Black Women. There are a lot of programs and initiatives online. All the banks have like mob money and money matters. There's a lot out there in terms of financial literacy. That's one area that I could tell you now. This course, I haven't done the finance block yet, but I know that I'm going to get a lot out of that. but surrounding yourself with, they don't have to be black fellas in business, but the people that you're around, right, might be an accountant, might be a lawyer, they might own a business. Having those people within your circle, I think, is really important. And I think that's what we've started to do now.
Yep.
And I cannot wait for the next cohort to graduate. And then one day as an alumni that we all come together and just see a room of black excellence.
Yeah.
And kind of go, we were there. We did this. We were part of this.
We were the blueprint.
We were the blueprint. So look, on that note, Will, as always, it's been so good to see you in person.
I know, finally.
We talk so much on the phone, but so good to catch up with you. And I am super proud of everything that you and Ray have achieved. And now Elle, my beautiful girl, big shout out to you. But everything you've achieved and continue to achieve despite everything else that life throws at you. I love you. I'm your biggest supporter. And I could not wait to have this yarn because I knew that there was a lot more from 3 years ago from the first yarn. We always talked about, when are we going to do another take? And then Monash are like, let's get Will on.
That first take I listened to the other week and I was like, that's not the same person I was back then, right?
So have a listen and see the growth within Will. You can be the judge of that. So yeah, thanks so much for stopping in, and I shall let you run back to the girls. Hi girls. And Tiger Lily will be back for a play because I know
she keeps asking about it. When's Tiger Lily coming over?
I know. And then I bring her down. She's like, I don't want to leave you, Mum.
Yeah.
She loves these fancy hotels, but we'll catch up soon and do dinner. And beautiful, big shout out to your beautiful partner.
Thank you.
Kyle, I'll see you at the engagement party.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Ciao.
This episode is proudly supported by Monash University, promoting the Master of Indigenous Business Leadership program. For more information, head to the link in our show notes or visit www.monash.edu/Indigenous-business-leadership.
Don't forget to follow Black Magic Woman podcast on all social media platforms. To keep up to date with the latest episodes and news, head to blackmagicwoman.com.au. You can rate and review the podcast on iTunes, and please feel free to share the podcast with your family and friends.